everyone. My name is Carl Johnson with Cleared Systems, and today we are going to talk about protecting ITAR technical data. This information is relevant if you are a federal contractor, a defense contractor, or defense manufacturer, and if you handle either ITAR or EAR 99. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. We post every week related to CMMC, ITAR, COI, DFARS, NIST, 800-171, FedRAMP, anything related to DoD and federal compliance we like to post to our channel. First, what exactly is ITAR? ITAR, which stands for International Traffic in Arms Regulations, is a set of U.S. government regulations that control the export, import, and transfer of defense-related articles, services, and technical data. It ensures that defense-related technology and information are safeguarded, especially from foreign entities. Now, we don't talk much about foreign employees, such as employees in other countries, but when we are discussing ITAR, all is related. You still have to provide safeguards even if you have employees that are located in other countries. The primary purpose of ITAR is to protect U.S. national security and foreign policy interests by preventing the unauthorized export of military technology, weapons, and defense services. Some of the key regulations listed in the U.S. ITAR regulates items listed in the USML, also called the USML list or categories, which includes defense articles, technical data, and defense services. Businesses involved in manufacturing, exporting, or handling these items must register with the DDTC. If you have any questions about registering or how you register, please contact Cleared Systems. We will most definitely help you in registration and making sure that you are compliant. Now, who has to comply is any U.S. company or individual involved in the design, manufacture, sale, or distribution of items on the USML must comply with ITAR regulations. This includes manufacturers, exporters, and brokers, as well as subcontractors working with defense-related goods and services. As an example, if you are a subcontractor to, say, a Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, etc., you have to also comply. If you are a sub of a sub of a sub, you also have to comply. So keep in mind that just because you may not be directly dealing with the government or dealing with, say, defense systems, missiles, etc., that does not take away your responsibility. Your organization still has to comply, just as if you are part of creating missile systems or any defense articles that we are going to talk about today. So what is the definition of technical data? Technical data under ITAR refers to information required for the design, development, production, manufacture, assembly, operation, repair, testing, maintenance, or modification of defense articles. This includes the blueprints, drawings, photographs, plans, instructions, and documentation. Now, the types of classification includes tangible and intangible data, meaning most of the time we talk in ways of digital, right? Whether we're talking about emails or files, but when we're talking about technical data, it can also mean documents, right? You're printing out a bunch of documents, you're taking them abroad or taking them to maybe a conference over in another country. ITAR and technical data still applies to you. Now, there are some exclusions to this, and that is general scientific, mathematical, engineering principles commonly taught in academic institutions, as well as information in the public domain or basic marketing material related to defense products. So, with that being said, if you have marketing material, but the marketing material is very specific, tells exactly what the product does, and may involve some types of blueprints or CAD drawings, then yes, ITAR technical data would apply to you. One of the important parts that you have to remember is that when you are either sharing or exporting technical data related to defense articles, even if it's electronically, it requires strict compliance with ITAR. Unauthorized transfer to foreign persons, including sharing through emails, cloud storage, or verbal communication, can result to penalties and violations. And I can't say that enough. Some of the systems that you use are not ITAR compliant, but you may not know or realize. Don't wait until it's too late to figure out that the systems that you are using are not compliant when it comes to ITAR and technical data. One document that should be very important to you, and one that you should uh, almost print out and keep on your desk, is 22 CFR Part 120, specifically around encryption and cloud. So 22 CFR Part 120 outlines strict requirements for storing technical data related to defense articles. This includes ensuring that digital and physical storage of ITAR-controlled technical data is secure and only accessible to U.S. persons or authorized entities. Cloud storage solutions must comply with ITAR, right? So if you are using Outlook, commercial, Gmail, AOL, Mindspring, whatever is out there, they are more than likely not compliant when we are talking about ITAR and technical data. You must ask your vendor if your systems that you're using is ITAR compliant. A perfect example is Zoom, right? So there is different flavors of Zoom. Most customers use the zoom.us, but just note that you should contact Zoom and make sure that you are on government specific Zoom that can handle ITAR and technical data, specifically around the FIPS encryption compliance. That's what you're really looking for. And also, you're looking for where exactly is the data stored. Are the clouds in the United States? Or whoever has access to those clouds, are they U.S. citizens? Is it FIPS 140-2? These are questions that you must ask and must have an answer to. Don't assume that because the vendor says that they are ITAR compliant, that they really are. Another question to ask if they are FedRAMP, and if so, at what level? Is it FedRAMP high, low? These are questions that you must answer because the consequences are great. The consequences are not just a slap on the wrist or the hand. The consequences could mean major penalties, $1 million per violation, and of course, jail time, right? Especially in the more extreme cases. I want to give you a example that I see, and it happens quite often. And that is, we have an employee, let's say at an aerospace company in the United States. We're going to call him Jose. Jose wants to email Jim, who is in Canada, and Jose has already applied for an export license. So they are communicating back and forth between each other with no issues whatsoever. Where the issues come is when Jose sends an email to Jim. He sends over the email, Jim then sends that email over to Dave. Dave is in Russia on a family vacation, but because there was no classifications on the email, they have now committed a violation because, of course, there was no kinds of classifications. There was no restrictions keeping Jose or Jim from sending emails outside of the U.S. or Canada. So that email landed in Dave's email box while he was in Russia, and that is a major violation and one that has to be self-reported. So let's look at this again from the perspective of one, setting up email and document classification, making sure that Jose, Jim, and Dave receive the proper training when it comes to ITAR compliance. And I will say training is probably your number one best fighter for keeping your organization out of trouble with DDTC. Systems have false positives, systems fail, but if your team understands how to deal with technical data, that can keep you from risking one, losing your privileges of exporting, and of course keep you from having to pay hefty fines and penalties. The other part to this is making sure that your email and documents have the proper encryption, right? Make sure that it's FIPS 140, right? Just like I say here let's go back to this slide, FIPS 140-2. Make sure that your vendor, whoever you are using for your email, for your file storage, even your backup. I think that a lot of times we don't necessarily look at what's the backup solution. Make sure your backup solution also is ITAR and technical data compliant. And there, now let's look at another violation that could be avoided if the proper systems and training is in place. Jose is going out to a conference. The conference happens to be in China, where he's going to meet with many vendors and look for ways to improve their supply chain. Jose is going to take his iPhone with him and go over to China. So he has now basically inadvertently created a violation for his company because it, one, took his phone, which had technical data inside of his phone. His phone likely is not does not have the proper encryption, so his company has committed a violation. Instead, the best way to deal with this is one, make sure that all devices are geofenced, whether that's phones, laptops, tablets, any device that can hold and store data should have some type of geo-restricted defense system around it. Additionally, make sure that your employees have ITAR compliance training and understand ITAR and the risk associated with ITAR. Additionally, make sure all of your devices have some type of encryption, and also make sure that there is a remote data destruction. A lot of times companies do not have especially the encryption in place, or they're using just the standard encryption that came with the laptop. That is not enough. You really need to make sure that it's the right level of encryption, and this keeps you from one, out of trouble, and two, making sure that your data is safe when your employees travel and when your data is at rest. So let's look at the different types of environments. Now, for most users and for most companies, you're using for your daily email and business, you're probably not using a ITAR compliant environment. And like I said, if you're using Office 365 commercial, that's not ITAR compliant. What comes with that is that likely your CAD applications you're using is not ITAR compliant. Any of the frontline applications, especially if you're a manufacturer and there is a shop, where your drawings and your schematics and your blueprints are being stored. SharePoint, all of these systems have to be ITAR compliant. Now, Microsoft and Amazon both have solutions. On the Microsoft side, we're talking about GCC High for your email, SharePoint, OneDrive. On the Amazon side, you have AWS GovCloud. It doesn't necessarily have to be those two vendors, but you do have to always ask the question, are we ITAR compliant? And make sure that you have proof and don't just take your vendor's word that you are ITAR compliant. Make sure that they have gone through the certifications such as FedRAMP High, and that their cloud service that they're providing to you is in the United States and that it's supported by US citizens. And as I mentioned before, cloud options, AWS GovCloud, Azure Government, or you have Microsoft GCC High, if we're talking about SharePoint and email. Going back to the whole focus of this is that data is not inadvertently released to foreign persons or foreign nations without proper authorization. That's the whole reason behind technical data and why DDTC exists along with ITAR, is to make sure that the control of your information is there and making sure that it does not get into the wrong hands. A lot of times, when I see the Justice Department briefs and indictments or anything that comes up, sometimes the excuse is, well, I didn't know, or we didn't know. In the world of court and understanding where your defense lies, ignorance is not a defense, right? You want to be proactive as a company. You want to be proactive if you're an individual or a broker. Make sure you have the proper systems and tools in place before you decide to do any type of importing and exporting when it comes to defense. If you need help, please reach out to us. We handle over 700 different companies when it relates to ITAR compliance and helping in every way, whether it's training, architecture, consulting, handling registration, any way we can help, we are here to help you. Please reach out to us. Don't assume. Reach out, and we are always here when you need us. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. Again, we put out videos weekly. I try to put them out at least 2 or 3 times a week, along with our podcast, InfoSec Battlefield, which is starting up again. If you would like to get more information about ITAR, COI, CMMC, DFARS, NIST, anything related to federal and DoD compliance, please like and subscribe so you can get notified when we release new videos.